Football has a very strange way of humbling you, doesn't it? I don't think I've got into a game feeling as upbeat and as confident as I did against Derby County today. They've just sacked Paul Ward. I think they've lost 7 games in a row. Derby were in absolute turmoil when it comes to form. And Norwich City had the best news for a long while. They'd won a couple of games in a row. We made a good January transfer window. Injury news was good. Slimane and Nunez returning to the squad, and for the first time probably for this season we fielded a bench that looked incredibly capable. Jakob Sorensen went from starting against Watford to not even making the matchday squad. I think that's more down to the strength and depth that we had at our disposal today, more than Jakob Sorensen's performance last week, where he was capable. Mate Jurasek, Jacob Wright, Rory McConville all coming straight into the side. There was an excitement, there was a buzz around Norwich City going into today, and they never quite got going. A really frustrating Saturday afternoon at Carrow Road, where Norwich were a couple of minutes for picking up all 3 points, and I would have been sat here going, well, what a professional 1-0 win. Did what we needed to do. Nice finish from Josh Sargent, happy days. And actually a really clumsy moment from Jack Stacey means that I'm sat here feeling slightly downbeat about things. Look, Norwich didn't lose. I actually thought Derby were, I wouldn't say impressive, but was solid. They set up well. They made it difficult for Norwich, and it was actually a rare bit of quality in the game from Emi Marcondes and Josh Sargent that found Norwich the goal. I thought they were unlucky not to go 1-0 up. I'm talking about Derby here. It looked from where I was standing onside. They had the ball in the back of the net, and actually that first goal from Derby that ended up being disallowed kind of summed Norwich up today. They were complacent, they were stodgy, they looked tired. And I actually thought we looked tired against Watford in that second half last week. And look, we won that game 1-0, but if Watford had 11 men, it could have been a different story. It feels like we're a little bit laboured at the moment, and I'm not quite sure what that is. I can't imagine it's a fitness issue. Norwich had depth today. I just thought it was startling. There was a moment very late on in today's game where Jack Stacey had been on for 20 minutes and had given a penalty away. And Josh Sargent was the one who had to make a 70-yard run to get back and cover and make the tackle. And Anis Ben Slimane, who had been on for, again, 20 minutes, seemingly his legs had gone and sort of sliced across with his left foot into the Barkley when could have maybe created an opportunity. It's deeply frustrating. I think it's a reminder that Norwich are still a long way from perfect. They should be beating Derby County at home. There is kind of no excuse around that. And I suspect Johannes will be absolutely fuming with the way in which they sacrificed 2 points at the end there. It was, I don't know, it felt as if they found it difficult to create chances today. I don't think Dobbin had his finest game from a productivity standpoint. Got in good positions, but ultimately didn't create much. Ante Cianats, again, was very quiet, and I think we need to find out what his best position is, and quite quick. Josh Sargent, well, look, is incredibly clinical. He is the best striker in this division with absolutely no questions raised, and kind of took his chance. But it was, again, I keep coming back to this word laboured. It felt heavy. It felt really difficult for Norwich to get going today. I actually think a draw was probably a fair result in the end. Derby were kind of content to try and sit and counter-attack us. And ultimately, that's kind of where the goal came from. It was an inability to kind of nick possession back late on in the game. It felt like once we took the lead, we were happy to kind of see it out. And that's a really dangerous position to be in. We got away with it against Watford. We ended up blowing away Swansea a couple of weeks ago, but Derby were never going to collapse in the way that Swansea did. And other teams have done it at Carrow Road. They are up against it. They've just sacked Paul Warne. They need results. They were going to sit deep and hope that Norwich were clumsy and did something stupid, and ultimately that's what happened. I think ultimately Jack Stacey was on the pitch because Kellen was on a booking, and it was a really silly booking that he picked up in that first half. I've not seen Kellen kind of snap at someone like he did in that first half. He'd been fouled, it wasn't given. He got up, made a really stupid challenge, and then was in a difficult position on the booking. Oh, I don't know. It's look, Norwich some weeks look like they're absolute top six certainty, and other weeks look really mid-table. And today was one of those days where, against the really average Derby side, struggled. And look, I'm not going to kind of glamorise this one. It was a good opportunity to get another 3 points on the board today. It's another good opportunity on Tuesday night against Preston, but they need to be more proactive in possession. And look, they've not often done that this season. I think one of the strongest reasons why I love Johannes' football is they take the lead and then kick on and try and find another. But against Watford and today, they've taken the lead and sat back. And I'm not sure if that's a fitness-related issue. I'm not sure if that's an instructional issue. I'm not sure if that's a nerves issue. But for whatever reason, they've not kicked on and they've not found a second gear in the last couple of weeks. They got away with it last week. They didn't today. With that being said as well, Norwich haven't lost this game. They've drawn and they looked dominant as they do against most teams in the Championship. But they needed to find that bit of quality today. And hopefully when Jacob Wright and Mate Jurisic, Borja Sainz returns on Tuesday night, so I suspect Lewis Dobbin will be dropped. Hopefully they've got enough quality to then really kind of shift through gears. But ultimately it was a moment of madness today from Jack Stacey that cost Norwich all 3 points, and that will be incredibly frustrating for everyone in that dressing room. With that being said, and I keep contradicting myself, this wasn't a Jack Stacey issue. This was a squad issue of just not finding enough at the right times. And actually, I think once the dust has settled and we look back, a point I think is a fair result. Norwich could have been trailing in that first half. They found a goal through Josh Sargent, a real bit of quality, and ultimately that was pretty much the only clear-cut chance of the game. They need to be better than that on a more consistent basis if top six is the aim this season. But still, we must stay upbeat. We must, look at that bench and go, okay, McConville and Wright and Jurisic and Sainz to be returning very soon, and Ante Cianats might be coming off the bench. There are options now, and as long as they can keep Nunez and Sargent and Callum Doyle, etc. fit, then there's definitely a fighting chance of top six this season. But today is very disappointing. They should have beaten Derby County, but they didn't. The final score, Norwich City 1, Derby County 1.